What destroys a man's authority first? Not failure, not enemies, exposure. The moment people understand you completely, they begin to calculate you. And when they can calculate you, they can control you. It is about the first two secrets powerful individuals protect at all costs. Break these, and nothing else in this video will save you. Let's begin. The man who shows his destination invites resistance. Most people think clarity equals strength. They announce their goals. They declare their moves. They explain themselves constantly. But power doesn't move loudly. It moves quietly. And history proves this again and again. Modern culture worships openness. Be authentic. Say what you mean. Show your real self. It sounds noble. But here's the darker truth. The more predictable you become, the easier you are to block. Once people know what you want, they don't need to fight you directly. They just position themselves between you and it. At work, if colleagues know you want the promotion, they frame you as aggressive. In relationships, if someone knows you're deeply attached, they test how far they can pull away. In negotiations, the side that reveals urgency loses leverage. Transparency feels virtuous, but predictability is a vulnerability. And powerful individuals understand this instinctively. The human mind is always scanning for leverage. When someone learns your intention, three things happen immediately. They measure how your goal affects their status. They calculate how they can slow or redirect you. They test your commitment by introducing obstacles. It's not always malicious. It's instinct. Status is competitive. This is why ambitious men often face resistance the moment they speak too soon. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this deeply. In The Prince, he explains that rulers must conceal real motives while appearing agreeable. Not because deception is immoral, but because visibility invites coalitions against you. History offers powerful proof. When Otto von Bismarck unified Germany, he didn't announce a grand vision of domination. He spoke cautiously, moved strategically, signed temporary alliances he never intended to keep long-term. He allowed others to underestimate him, and when they realized his true objective, it was already done. Power does not declare its final move before the board is prepared. And that leads to a dangerous question. How many times have you spoken too early? How many times did you explain yourself and felt resistance rise immediately after? Stay with me, because the next layer explains why even good intentions must be filtered. Powerful individuals master something subtle. They answer questions without giving answers. They speak without exposing direction. Instead of, "I'm planning to leave this company next year," they say, "I'm exploring options." Instead of, "I'm building something big," they say, "I'm working on a few ideas." Ambiguity preserves flexibility. When your intentions are fluid to others, you cannot be cornered. Queen Elizabeth I mastered this. She delayed marriage proposals for years, never rejecting, never committing. By keeping her intentions hidden, she maintained political leverage over Europe's most powerful monarchs. If she had revealed a clear choice too early, England would have lost its bargaining power. Ambiguity created dominance. And now you see the pattern. The less they know, the less they can trap you. But intentions are only half the equation. Because once people sense weakness, they don't need your plans. They only need your cracks. And that brings us to the second secret. Here's the brutal truth. Compassion is situational. Respect is structural. If people sense instability in you, their behavior shifts instantly. They may smile, they may nod, but internally, hierarchy recalibrates. We live in an era that encourages emotional exposure. Share your struggles. Open up. Be vulnerable. But vulnerability without power is not bonding. It's surrender. When weakness is revealed in the wrong environment, you lose psychological ground. In corporate environments, confessing uncertainty can remove you from leadership tracks. In social circles, admitting insecurity too freely can reposition you as lower status. This is not about suppressing humanity. It's about context. Powerful individuals choose carefully who sees their fractures, because fractures once seen are remembered. Human beings subconsciously test stability. They interrupt you mid-sentence. They challenge minor points. They push boundaries in small ways. These are micro-dominance tests. When someone detects hesitation, they increase pressure. This dynamic isn't new. During the Cold War, Winston Churchill never publicly revealed doubt during Britain's darkest moments. Privately, he feared collapse. Publicly, he projected certainty. Had he displayed fear openly, morale would have shattered. Leadership is not about never feeling weakness. It's about never broadcasting it prematurely. And here's where most men fail. They confuse emotional relief with strategic advantage. Relief feels good, but exposure lingers. There is a difference between strategic humility and emotional leakage. Strategic humility says, "I'm always learning." Emotional leakage says, "I don't think I'm capable." The first builds relatability without lowering status. The second invites silent recalculation. Powerful figures often reveal minor, controlled flaws to appear human, but they never expose structural weaknesses. There's a reason powerful leaders maintain composure under interrogation. Once emotional volatility is visible, authority erodes. And when authority erodes, influence follows. Have you ever noticed how calm individuals shift the energy of a room? They don't rush to explain. They don't overreact. They don't defend themselves unnecessarily. Silence under pressure signals control. Control signals hierarchy. The less reactive you are, the harder you are to manipulate. Because emotional triggers are leverage points. If someone knows how to provoke you, they own part of you. And this connects directly to the final warning of this chapter. If people know what you want and where you're weak, they don't need to overpower you. They only need to wait. So now you understand the foundation. Never reveal your true intentions. Never reveal your weaknesses. But here's what most people still get wrong. They hide their plans, yet expose their ambition. They control emotions, yet signal hunger for status. And hunger triggers competition. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the next two secrets, the ones that determine whether people see you as a threat or underestimate you until it's too late. Because power is not only about what you hide, it's about what you let them believe. And what you let them believe decides how far you rise. Most men don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're visible. Visible ambition, visible capability, visible hunger, and hunger attracts hunters. Now I will use something more dangerous. How to rise without triggering resistance. Because the moment people perceive you as a threat, the game changes. And most never realize when that shift happens. Let's go deeper. Ambition is admired in theory, but in reality, it unsettles people, especially those who are comfortable where they are. The moment others sense that you aim higher than them, they begin measuring themselves against you. And comparison breeds insecurity. Insecurity breeds obstruction. Ambition disrupts hierarchy. When someone detects that you are climbing fast, thinking bigger, or planning further ahead, Their subconscious asks, will this person outrank me? If the answer feels like yes, resistance begins, sometimes subtly. You'll notice delayed support, cold encouragement, sudden criticism. Not because they hate you, but because your growth threatens their position. This is evolutionary. Status is survival currency. And ambitious men who speak too loudly about their goals activate defense systems in others. That's why the most powerful ascents in history were rarely announced. Before he became emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte didn't publicly declare his intention to rule France. He framed his rise as service to the Republic. He appeared loyal, measured, necessary. By the time people understood his true ambition, he had already consolidated power. Had he announced his ultimate goal early, coalitions would have formed against him. Ambition revealed too soon becomes a target. Ambition disguised becomes inevitability. And here's the psychological twist. People don't attack what they don't perceive as threatening. So the question becomes, how do you climb without triggering alarm? Powerful individuals reveal ambition in fragments. They share immediate goals, not ultimate visions. They appear focused on the next step, while calculating 10 steps ahead. This creates psychological comfort around them. Others think, he's just improving, not, he's coming for the top. Underestimation becomes your shield, and underestimation is one of the most powerful weapons in social dynamics. Because when resistance is asleep, movement is easier. But there's another layer. Even if you conceal ambition, you can still sabotage yourself by revealing too much capability. And that mistake is even more common. Competence is respected, but overwhelming competence? It's threatening. The moment people realize how capable you truly are, they adjust. Alliances shift, defenses rise, opportunities narrow. This is why controlled revelation is critical. History repeatedly shows the power of appearing smaller than you are. Consider Deng Xiaoping. His strategy was summarized in a simple philosophy: hide your strength, bide your time. China did not project dominance immediately. It focused inward, built capacity quietly, expanded influence strategically. By the time the world recognized the scale of its growth, it was already embedded in global systems. Surprise multiplies power. When capability is revealed all at once, it shocks hierarchy, and shock destabilizes opponents. Imagine two individuals in a company. One constantly showcases every skill. The other speaks less, performs consistently, and occasionally delivers something extraordinary. Who commands more psychological impact? The second, because unpredictability creates awe. When people can't fully measure you, they hesitate to challenge you. Full exposure removes mystery. Mystery preserves dominance. And this applies everywhere, in business, in leadership, in social environments. Reveal enough to be respected, never enough to be contained. Capabilities aren't just skills, they're connections, financial leverage, strategic options. Powerful individuals rarely display all their resources at once, because visible resources invite strategy against you. When others know your full network, they know where to pressure you. When others know your full budget, they know how to negotiate you down. Silence about capacity creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates caution. Now here's where this becomes dangerous. Most people don't overshare because they're naive. They overshare because they want validation. They want acknowledgement. They want recognition for their ambition and skill. But validation trades long-term leverage for short-term applause, and applause fades. Leverage remains. There is a rhythm to powerful disclosure. Step 1. Appear competent but not dominant. Step 2. deliver results unexpectedly. Step 3. Return to composure. This creates psychological whiplash, and psychological whiplash builds reputation. Look at Steve Jobs. He didn't constantly explain future innovations in detail. Apple revealed products at precise moments. The surprise was part of the power. Anticipation built mystique. Mystique built dominance, and dominance shaped markets. Now pause and think. How often do you reveal everything you're working on? How often do you showcase every skill, every plan, every move? Every time you do, you shrink the unknown. And when the unknown disappears, so does fear. And when fear disappears, so does respect. So now you understand the next layer. Hide your full ambition. Hide your full capability. Move quietly. Scale strategically. Reveal selectively. But even this is not enough. Because the most dangerous exposure isn't external. It's internal. And there are 3 final secrets that separate rising players from untouchable operators. Secrets about emotion, about long-term strategy, about unpredictability. And most men fail at these without realizing it. We build the inner fortress because true power isn't loud. It's unreadable. And once you become unreadable, you become untouchable. By now, you understand something most people never will. Power is not loud. It is concealed. But here's the deeper truth. Even if you hide your intentions, even if you conceal your ambition, even if you downplay your capabilities, you can still lose everything because of what leaks from within. The final 3 secrets are not about what you show the world. They're about what you allow the world to detect. And once these are mastered, you stop playing the game. You start controlling it. Let's enter the inner fortress. Secret number 5. Never reveal your long-term strategy. Most people think in days. Some think in months. Very few think in decades. And almost no one keeps their long-term vision completely silent. That's why they get blocked before they build. Amateurs focus on the next opportunity. Operators think in chains of consequences. Every action is a setup. Every delay is intentional. Every silence is calculated. When you reveal your long-term strategy, 2 things happen. People begin anticipating your moves. People begin preparing countermoves. And once that begins, your advantage shrinks. History gives us a masterclass in long-term secrecy. For years, he appeared patient, loyal, even submissive. But internally, he was positioning himself for total control of Japan. He waited, observed, built alliances quietly. When his rivals exhausted themselves through premature aggression, he struck decisively. His long-term strategy was invisible until it was unstoppable. If he had declared his ultimate ambition early, coalitions would have crushed him. Patience concealed the blueprint, and patience multiplied power. Now ask yourself, how often do you talk about your 5-year plan? How often do you share your future vision with people who haven't earned access to it? Every time you verbalize it casually, you weaken its protection. Because strategies spoken publicly invite interference, strategic patience as psychological warfare. There is something deeply unsettling about a man who cannot be rushed. When others panic, he waits. When others react, he observes. This patience creates psychological pressure. Opponents begin overextending themselves trying to decode you. Silence creates projection. Projection creates mistakes. Look at Vladimir Putin in early geopolitical maneuvers. His methods were often incremental and ambiguous. Moves appeared small, intentions unclear, until suddenly the shift was irreversible. Whether one agrees with his politics or not, the lesson remains. Gradual positioning confuses opposition. Clear long-term announcements unite opposition. But even long-term secrecy isn't enough, because strategy can remain hidden and still collapse if your emotions betray you. And this next secret is where most powerful men fall. Secret number 6. Never reveal your emotional triggers. Here's the uncomfortable reality. If someone can control your reaction, they control you. Emotion is leverage, and leverage is power. Emotional leverage explained. Every person has triggers: disrespect, rejection, criticism, comparison. When someone identifies what destabilizes you, they gain a button. And once they find the button, they test it. Repeatedly. This is why true power feels calm. Not because it lacks emotion, but because it conceals vulnerability. Consider Abraham Lincoln. During immense political pressure and personal attacks, he maintained composure publicly. Privately, he wrestled with doubt, but he understood something crucial. Visible instability erodes authority. Had he reacted emotionally to every criticism, his leadership credibility would have fractured. Emotional restraint protected structural power. And this applies in modern life just as brutally. If coworkers know criticism unsettles you, they use subtle critique to destabilize you. If rivals know disrespect provokes you, they provoke strategically. Reaction exposes wiring, and wiring reveals control panels. Trigger mapping and neutralization. The most dangerous man in any room is the one who cannot be baited. He doesn't defend impulsively. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't chase validation, because he has already mapped his own triggers. He knows what would normally provoke him, and he has disciplined himself beyond it. This creates psychological intimidation. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain still, they feel exposed because their tactic failed, and failure destabilizes aggressors. But here's the deeper layer. Emotional neutrality doesn't mean coldness. It means selectivity. You choose when to display emotion. You choose when to respond. You choose when to stay silent. And unpredictability in response creates psychological fog around you, which leads to the final and most powerful secret, the one most people violate daily, without realizing it. Secret number 7. Never reveal your next move. This is the crown jewel, the element that turns respect into fear. Unpredictability, but not chaos. Calculated unpredictability. Surprise collapses resistance. When people anticipate your move, they build defenses. When they miscalculate your move, they scramble. History offers a powerful example. During the American Revolution, George Washington executed a surprise crossing of the Delaware River. It was unexpected, risky, unannounced. The psychological shock shifted morale dramatically. The victory wasn't just tactical, it was psychological. Predictability creates containment. Surprise creates dominance. In everyday life, the same principle applies. If people know your next decision before you make it, they influence it. If they sense hesitation before action, they adjust accordingly. But when your moves emerge without warning, control shifts. Silence forces others to fill gaps with assumptions, and assumptions reveal more about them than about you. When you don't explain your next step, others speculate. Speculation exposes fears. Speculation exposes insecurities. And in watching their guesses, you learn their psychology. Silence becomes intelligence gathering. But here's the critical balance. Unpredictability must be disciplined. If you appear erratic, you lose trust. If you appear calculated, yet unreadable, you gain mystique. And mystique amplifies power. So now you know all 7. Hide your intentions. Conceal your weaknesses. Mask your ambition. Downplay your capabilities. Protect your long-term strategy. Neutralize emotional triggers. Never reveal your next move. But here's the question most viewers won't ask themselves. Can you actually live this way? Because secrecy requires discipline. Mystery requires restraint. Power requires emotional control. Most people never develop. The truth is, most people will watch this, agree with it, and then expose themselves tomorrow in casual conversation. And that's why most people never rise. The men who internalize these rules don't need to announce dominance. It becomes visible without explanation. Because once you become unreadable, you become untouchable, and the world treats you accordingly.